just by observing the system. Nothing that you use on visual is pre-recorded or like a video on YouTube. It is really something that is being simulated on the fly using NASA servers. Check out other simulations we have on the visual website. One of my favorite is the evolution of sea level along the coastlines of Texas or Florida. You can really see the impact of the evolution of polar ice caps on the local coastline.
Dave Ross here. Welcome to another in the series of Seattle Gilbert and Sullivan Society Presents. And today, we're presenting something completely different. Pineapple Paul is a ballet based on the works of Gilbert and Sullivan. How this work came about is as fascinating as any opera plot. William S. Gilbert was a very prolific writer. In addition to the Savoy operas, he wrote many other operas, straight plays, ballads, poems, and was an accomplished cartoonist. He quite often borrowed from his earlier writings for the plots of his later operas with Sullivan. For example, many of the elements of HMS Pinafore came from one of his so-called Bab ballads entitled The Bumboat Woman's Story, which introduced the characters of Little Buttercup as well as the sailor who never swears a big, big D. Now, in this ballad, a young woman named Polly Pineapple, but nicknamed Little Buttercup, sells sundry goods to the sailors who have just returned from sea. She is loved by Jasper, the owner of a waterfront pub, but she, and all the other girls in town, have eyes only for the dashing Lieutenant Belay, commander of the smallest ship in the Royal Navy, the doughty HMS Hot Cross Bun. Learning that his ship was to return to sea the next day, she decides to disguise herself as a sailor and ship out with him. It was only after they returned to port that she discovers that he had been engaged the whole time as he returned to the ship with his new wife. Heartbroken and angry, Polly surprises everybody by revealing that she is a woman and in love with the lieutenant. And then, to further the surprise, the entire crew reveals that they are the rest of the town girls and also in love with the lieutenant. At this point, the real sailors show up to reclaim their girlfriends. Of course, this was written by W.S. Gilbert, so would you believe at the end it's revealed that Jasper and the lieutenant are actually long-lost brothers separated at birth, which of course makes Jasper a naval officer also. Naturally, Polly then falls for him. All of this is followed by a rousing patriotic finale. The copyright on Sullivan's music expired in 1950, and so a young Australian musician named Charles Mackerras undertook to write a ballet based on the Bumboat Woman's story and intermixed with music from all but two of Gilbert and Sullivan's operas. The ballet was choreographed by John Cranko and was a great hit in the 1951 Festival of Britain program. Mike Story, the producer of the Seattle Gilbert and Sullivan Society, had long dreamed of producing this little ballet, hopefully in connection with HMS Pinafore, since the character of Little Buttercup appeared in both. There were two rather formidable obstacles, however. First of all, Mackerras had arranged Pineapple Paul for a 60-piece orchestra. Secondly, all of John Cranko's choreography was under copyright, and ownership of it went to the Stuttgart Ballet upon Cranko's death in 1972. The Stuttgart Ballet does not license anyone to do ballets with his choreography. The first problem was solved when our company went to the International Gilbert and Sullivan Festival in Buxton, England, and Mike met several members of the Sir Arthur Sullivan Society. It turned out that the now Sir Charles Mackerras was the honorary president of the society. After some correspondence in which Sir Charles was very helpful, he not only helped us get the rights to perform his music, but also gave us permission to reduce his orchestration from 60 to what he called a GNS-sized orchestra, in this case, 30 pieces. Unfortunately, Sir Charles has since passed away. The music director of the Seattle Gilbert and Sullivan Society, Bernie Quirham, did a masterful job of reducing the number of instruments without losing the fullness of the sound. As to the second problem, Mike was fortunate to make the acquaintance of Donald Byrd, the artistic director of Spectrum Dance Theater. Donald knew of Cranko's work and became intrigued by the project. He produced a totally new choreography for the piece, and the professional dancers of Spectrum performed it. After doing Pineapple Pole in Seattle, by the way, Donald went on to do the choreography for the Broadway show The Color Purple. Part of the lore of Pineapple Pole is that Macaris used no music from the last two Gilbert and Sullivan operas because it wasn't available to him in Australia. To rectify this, we included a fanfare from Utopia Limited at the beginning and the Gallop from the Grand Duke during the entr'acte. Thus, you will hear at least snippets from every opera Gilbert and Sullivan wrote together, including the long-lost Thespis. So, before this dissertation becomes longer than the ballet, let's visit a town square by the waterfront in Portsmouth, England, and watch the citizenry welcome a proud ship of the Royal Navy.